About to start right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Black Race Matter. My name is Tammy Gibson, and I'd like to thank everyone that is in attendance. I am so happy and honored to speak to an amazing woman and her history. I've been following her, and she just has such uh, amazing history. I've been following her. Definitely, she's just a gem with so much knowledge. So I want to welcome Miss Fannie Marie. How are you?
Oh, I'm just great. I'm great, and it's truly an honor to be here talking with you and sharing more information. Thank you for inviting me.
That's
Thank you.
great. So we're going to get started. So if you can tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I this is my 69th year in Moorville, Georgia. Brooks County is the county, and Brooks County is called the breadbasket of the Confederacy because during the most critical days of the Civil War, the food supplies and everything that really kept both armies, sustained both armies, came out of Brooks County, Georgia. And history said those gallant white females sustained the Confederacy, but actually it was our ancestors. These ancestors that are in these graves that we're trying to preserve and restore. This is their story, and we've carried the story since the 1800s.
Okay, so how many cemeteries are in your hometown?
I'm sorry.
How many cemeteries are in your hometown?
I'm up to 39. 39 at present. Of course, there are more, but I'm up to 39 that I could easily identify.
Okay. And can you tell a little bit about the cemetery? When it started, about the history of the cemetery.
Could you say the city again? I heard the Brooks County, but could you say the city again?
Morven, Morven, Morven.
Morven. Okay.
Morven.
What is that near?
Valdosta is the largest.
Okay.
I'm on the outskirts of Valdosta. I'm actually in the suburb of Valdosta. That's the largest city, Lowndes County, but Morven was the first city for this region, for Lowndes, Brooks, this Thomas County, called the Irwin Territories in the 1800s. When the original Englishmen came, they came into Morven, and the Scottish settlers named Morven for one of their mountains in Scotland. There is a mountain in Scotland called Morven, and that is how we get our name.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the history of the cemetery?
I can't hear you. I don't know if it's my speaker or.
Okay, hold on a minute. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Can you talk about the history of the cemetery?
The history of the cemetery. The settlers came in the 1800s, 1818, and they brought in my ancestors with them. The original settlers, Sion Hall, Pliny Sheffield, Bointo, Hamilton W. Sharp. And at that time, they did not bury enslaved people or Native Americans with white people. So this particular cemetery is, if not the first, one of the first cemeteries in this huge, what we call Lowndes Valdosta Metro region. This is one of the first cemeteries where the enslaved were buried, beginning around 1818. I think the last one that we've documented so far was in 1935. The last tombstone that we've been able to document in this old cemetery.
Okay. And how many buried there, or how many documents do you know are buried there?
Dr. Tiene at Valdosta State University, who is the professor that is leading the restoration of this project, he had estimated that there were maybe 100 enslaved there. He could identify at least 20 of them with markers. Now, in the old cemetery, some of them are sunken in, and it's going to be extremely difficult to identify those. But it's a 2-acre tract that we're working on right now that houses the tombstones of Andrew Jackson I and his wife, Sidney Wilson, who was a Native American. She was Native and white. That is her ancestry. From their ancestry and all the documented records, Andrew Jackson and Sidney Wilson tombstones are still standing upright. Those are the ones that we're working to preserve and restore because of the contributions that they made to America.
Okay. What have been some of your challenges?
One of the biggest challenges has been access. It's in the woods. We need permanent access where we won't have to continue to go in and cut back the shrubbery, trees, things of that nature, because it's been there over 200 years. That's one of the problems. And the second problem has been a lack of knowledge and people not understanding me or understanding the mission. Thankfully, with the help of Ms. Bunsell Vance and others and my board members and those of you that are joining this quest with us, people are beginning to understand what we're trying to do. And it's not only for the Macedonia cemetery, it's for every cemetery in what we call the wiregrass territories, which would be Brooks, Lowndes, Thomas, and there are several other counties in this region that fall under this umbrella, but it's never been done before.
Tammy, if you don't mind, I'd like to interject to add to her answer about one of the biggest problems as far as access is the area is really landlocked, and one of our biggest, I think our first goal is to hire a lawyer or two so that we can get an easement, so that we can have easy access to go back and forth to do whatever, to clean it off or to do whatever it is that we need to do back there.
Now, is it on private property?
No, we're surrounded by private property. Andrew Jackson I owned all this land after the Civil War. And then eventually parcels were sold out to white farmers. And today the 2 acres is surrounded by white owners. But we own the cemetery.
Gotcha.
We own the 2 acres that houses the cemetery.
Okay. So I'm about to share. So let me see if I can do something here. So Ms. Fannie, if you want to describe, these are some of the pictures that you sent to me that you wanted, the people that on here, if you want to talk about it.
Yes, you're looking at what's remaining of the crypt of Jonas Golden, who was one of the oldest enslaved brought from West Africa to this region. Now, we visited this cemetery, I think it was back in the 60s or 70s, and fortunately, my brother August B. Lee Jackson has a video of when we actually went in here. And at that time, this was in the shape of a wagon wheel with conch shells all around it. This is the crypt of Jonas Golden. But as you can see, it's fallen in. But Dr. Tieme said with a lot of tender loving care, we could possibly restore this crypt because there's just so much history. Why would they bury him in the shape of a wagon wheel? There's just so much hidden knowledge there. But that's one of the ones that we're concentrating on in this old cemetery. Now there was another one, the one with Andrew. Okay, that's a part of the Jonas Golden Crypt that's falling in, that's sinking in. There it is. That's part of it.
So is that a crypt or?
That is a shed where it seemed as if someone was trying to preserve that crypt.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. Now that is Sydney Wilson Jackson. She is our great-great-grandmother, the wife of Andrew Jackson I. She was a Native American and white, listed in the census records as mulatto. She and her brother, Romeo Wilson, the ones who founded the Macedonia community. And that is one of the tombstones we definitely want to preserve. And the writing on there is Old English. On this video I'm telling you about, our cousin Shirley Jackson was really trying to read it. It says something to the effect of, dearest mom, yay hat, or something. I don't remember the specific words, but it is in the video that always begins.
Okay.
Now, this is the one I was telling you. He is a veteran. I haven't been able to read it, but this is one of the last ones that was buried in the old cemetery.
Okay.
And I believe this is a part of Mr. Stafford. That's the veteran that is buried in the old cemetery. Yes, that's his picture.
Okay.
And that is Jonas Golden's crypt that's falling in.
And can you talk about the Macedonia Community Development Corporation when it was founded?
I actually put it to pen and paper in 2018. I've been working on it all my life. I finally decided to go ahead and move forward with it because I saw where Congressman McEachin and Adams were working to actually fund the preservation of African enslaved cemeteries in America. This is some 12 years ago. So that is why I formally put everything in a recognizable format so that we could reach out for funding and receive grants and things of that nature. Now, my sister, Vansel Patricia Jackson Vance, and Oglesby Lee Jackson were the ones who gave it the name because Macedonia is the community that we grew up in. Now, there is a Macedonia Baptist Church, which a lot of these family members are members of. We're not members of the Macedonia Baptist Church. There are several, these cemeteries that I'm telling you about in this region are named after the churches. For example, there's an Empress Cemetery. There is a Salem Cemetery, and they're all named after their churches. The foundation is a tribute to my ancestors because I'm so thankful for all their sacrifices and what they did for us. I was just telling Pat, it's just overwhelming, this history they've given to us, and we're now sharing it with the world. And those people who want to still deny that we exist, they don't want us to bring this history forward. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle.
Okay. So, care of Black cemeteries have been an issue. What can be done to make sure the ancestors rest in peace and in dignity?
Funding. I find it horrifying the amount of money the U.S. government has put into the cemeteries for Union Union soldiers, Confederate soldiers, all these other soldiers. But they've not done much for the enslaved, if anything. And I'm thinking, why? Why not? Why?
So you are a descendant of Mary Turner, who was lynched in 1918. Can you talk about that and how old were your ancestors, or how old were you when you heard about the lynchings?
Oh, I've heard about the Mary Turner lynchings since birth. My grandmother, my father's mother, Polly Mae James Jackson, and her husband, Andrew Jackson II, were the main, were the foundation of the Macedonia community. We live in Mormon, 5234 Jackson Road is where our home house is. When my grandmother and her husband learned about what was happening with the lynchings, they jumped in their wagon to go up to Barney, call it Barney, because that's where it was happening. And the goal was to rescue our cousins and loved ones. So when my grandmother and my grandfather came on we call it the Clan Patrol, one of the white men reached up to pull my grandmother off the wagon, but he was stopped by one of the peach heirs of Mormon. He said, no, no, that's not her. That's not who you're looking for. That's just Aunt Polly and Uncle Andy. Let them through. So they allowed my grandmother and my grandfather to travel back and forth from Morven to Barney, rescuing family members who were in the way, and they delivered them safely to 5234 Jacksonville. Yes, Pat, I'm sorry.
One of the key elements of the story, Tammy, is that my grandmother was pregnant, and the mob was looking for a pregnant female. And my grandma was pregnant with our father. And if it had not been for the interference of the, I have something that I call one kind act of the kind white man, my grandmother they would have taken her in place of Mary Turner, and they would, my grandmother and my grandfather would not have survived. I'm sorry, Marie, but I just had to give her the key element as to why they stopped them, is because they were looking for a pregnant Black woman. And if you know the story of Mary Turner, in essence, they had considered that she had stepped out of her place and had went to the sheriff's office and sassed them out, and they did not like that because she was contesting the fact that her innocent husband had been arrested for the murder of the white plantation owner. I'm sorry, Maria, I just had to interject that.
Thank you.
And so, for what you've told me, Miss Fannie Marie, that they are ancestors that were tragically killed. They're buried at the Macedonia Cemetery.
This is what we are thinking, and they in our records, I think the NAACP, Walter White and the NAACP, they documented at least 13 to 16 who were officially lynched, but in our research, in our history, we can document at least 200 family members who disappeared. We never found any traces of them anywhere ever again. However, many people were fleeing this area. So there was an edict that went out. You cannot leave this area. If you leave this area, that means that you were a part of this insurrection to murder white people. So it was truly a terrifying time. People had to slip away from this region. And this is where the other half of the Macedonia story picks up, because these families were leaving. My grandmother, grandfather, aunts, uncles, all of them kept those family names alive throughout all our lives. They would tell us this one went to New York, this one went to New Jersey, this one went to California, this one went here, this one there. So I kept a record. My brother August Lee Jackson Sr. kept a record. Linda Faye Jackson Trotman kept a record. Fast forward, social media, I connected with 3 cousins whom I never known, had been keeping the same records. And some of them didn't even know why their ancestors had left Brooks County. So we connected, and there are 5,000 or more of us now that we reconnected to all of this, to Brooks Lounge and Thomas County. So the Mary Turner lynching, although what happened to her was horrendous, the most horrible thing, it affected this entire region, the impact that it has had on all of us in this region. And that is why we are working hard to preserve and restore this history, the cemeteries, the churches, the landmarks. We're working hard for an African American museum to be placed in Brooks County, Georgia. This is what we're working on now.
Okay. I'm gonna do another screen share. I was gonna see if I can try to bring up. Let me see. Can everybody see this? Are you able to see the video?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, just want people to see. And is these your family members, Miss Fannie Marie?
Yes, that is my grandson, my son, Jerry Alexander, my first cousin, who's leading this first effort with Dr. Tieme of Valdosta State University. This is when we went in September of 2019, October 2019. This is when we initially went in there to begin the preservation. And of course, then the pandemic hit. So we had to reorganize, and now we're back on track, and we're getting ready to move forward with the final restoration of this particular cemetery.
Okay. It seemed like it looked like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but if once we get the easement, it won't be as difficult as we think it is, because the tombstones that we need to really preserve, they're right there on the edge. So it's not as if they're down in all the forest and the undergrowth. We just need to be able to get in there. We just need to get in there and do what we need to do. So Dr. Tieme, with his group at Valdosta State University, they're planning to bring in the drones and the students. They're going to document and do everything that needs to be done to preserve this history.
Okay. And let me see, I think I have. Let's see. And this is another quick video.
Yes, that's part of it.
And there go the shed.
Yes.
And what is this open land here with the
That is beside it.
okay.
That is a pond that one of the white farmers put there. It's a pond. We want to think that the intent was to uproot all those tombstones, but they were stopped. they were stopped from doing that.
And let me go back real quick. I want to ask a question. What's right there? Let me go back real quick. So where this bank or this river here, are there more bodies past the over by the river, or is that where it stops?
No, that's where it stops, right there where we are, where that little island is, that's where it stops. They're all right here in those 2 acres. They're all
Okay. Okay.
And I think that shed that you're showing, I think I heard my brother said that someone had put up a deer shed. I think, Marie, did you hear, is that in your memory anywhere? But I think that that's what they said that was. So we found out in time so that we could stop them from disturbing that place because
There it is right there.
yeah, yes. I think that he said that someone had put up a deer shed over there.
Okay.
So this whole area was hunting country for the Native Americans. They lived in Florida, but they would come to this region for hunting. So it was nothing but hunting. This is prime hunting territory where we live.
Mm. I remember I was at a cemetery, well, going to a cemetery. I had stopped at, I think it was at a city hall or something like that. And they told me that I needed to get assistance because it's deer hunting. And they was telling me I might get shot. So there was like, when you go to like rural cemeteries and stuff like that, you got to put on some bright colors or you got to let people know because like I said, people be hunting and if you wear dark colors or something like that, you blend in and you might get shot. I was like, oh my God, this was like in Mississippi. I was trying to locate some of my family members buried at the cemetery, and that particular cemetery, they said that's a lot of deer hunting there.
Yes, that would definitely happen to you here.
Okay. Okay, so Miss Fannie, you told me about your older brother and cousin escaped from the Klan in 1963. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I was about 10 or 11, and my memory is sitting in our little house, mom, grandmother, aunts, family, just sitting. And I remember dad and the men with rifles and some disturbance. And I just remember Osby missing. And this is my memory. I'm very close to Osby, my brother Osby. I call him my doggy dad. But that helped me out. Well, what happened?
I had to unmute. I don't know what your memory is because the age is about right. So I would have been maybe about 12 or 13. And she's right. I do remember that the grown-ups were all gathered together, the whole community. And you have to understand that we came from a, quote, Christian family. So to me, my memory is that of why is it we just came from church yesterday and one of our cousins, we call him Brother McCall, and Brother McCall is out here with his gun. And all of the adults are standing around, and that was my memory, and it was sort of like I think maybe been like hush hush for the younger kids, and we just had get bits and pieces, and it wasn't until later that we we realized what was going on. I knew something was going on with my brother Osby, and it wasn't until later that I found out that it was also my cousin Willie Joe, and they really, it was at a family reunion that they really shared that story to us about the entire story of what happened. Marie, do you want me to go ahead and finish, or do you want to take up from there?
You can finish.
It was at a family reunion at the Macedonian church that they shared the whole entire story of what had happened. They were some of the first Blacks to work at this big uh, industry in Brooks, in Quitman, Georgia, which was the Derico, Derico. And and this was during the time of Dr. Martin Luther King, when marching and everything was going on in Birmingham, where I am now in this area. And all week long, the radio was saying that there was going to be a concerned citizens meeting. I think that's what they call it back there in those days. On the radio, you know, code for Klans meeting was concerned citizens meeting. And my brother and my cousin decided, well, they were citizens, so and they were militant anyway. They were on the verge of being militant, and we are concerned, not militant in a bad way, but it's time for a change. And we are concerned citizens, so we are going to go to this concerned citizen meeting after we get off from work. And even all day long, they said that their white coworkers had been asking them, were they going to the meeting? And they were saying yes, they were going to the meeting. But when they got there, they were shocked to find out that it was a all white meeting. They saw lawyers. They saw lawyers that we family lawyers that we know, doctors, family doctors, friends, all these different people that they knew in the community, that our parents, our family knew in the community. All of these people were there gathered there at that meeting. And when they saw the two of them come in, they turned around and said the N word. And then that's when they realized that they were, you know, they all hollered, you know, let's get them, let's get them. And that's when they realized that they were not at a concerned citizen meeting, but they were basically at a coded KKK meeting. And so they start running when the individuals say, you know, Ian, let's get them. So they start running, and the people, you know, start running after them. Do you want me to tell you the entire story?
And if you want to, you know, if you would like to share, or.
Well, I just go ahead and end the story. But my brother, it really affected them, and it wasn't until that family reunion that we really realized
1994.
how much that affected them and their lives. And sometimes I even think to right now, my brother is 78.
Yes.
Is about 70, and even right now, I think that really has a traumatic. He has he suffers trauma from that, and although he has been in the military, but I think that incident has been more traumatizing to him, probably than serving in the military. To think that and it was a Black business owner who sneaked him out of Quitman in the trunk of her car. That's how he was able to get out of Quitman. She sneaked him out in the trunk of her car. He was out in the woods, up in a tree, hiding. And when my parents started looking for him and they were calling his name, he would not answer because he thought it was a trap. He thought that the white people had gotten a hold to my parents and that they were trying to trick him to come down. But I can't remember why it is that he eventually came down. And but in the process, but finally he did come down out the tree. And finally, Willie Joe, his story is different. He is. I wish he was here to tell how he was able to escape. But the next day, the community, Macedonia community again, was coming together. They were all getting together to collect money, to get whatever was needed for him to go to Florida, for him to leave. But my mom told him, son, if you run now, you will be running for the rest of your life. And he stayed, and he made Brooks County, Morven, Macedonia community his home. There, that's where he is now. That's where he has raised his family. He finished, he went to school at Valdosta State College, got his master's degree. I think he even went to Georgia Tech, and he taught school right there in the Macedonia community, raised 5 children, and they are all college graduates. and they are spread throughout the country, doing good, doctors, teachers, I can't, pharmacists. So that's my brother's story.
And the trade-off with those young men, I believe there were at least 12 of them, because they were the white citizens were going to arrest them for disturbing the peace. And I believe the trade-off was that all of them had to enlist in the U.S. In the military, and that is how most of them went to our Vietnam veterans. I don't know all the names of them. That's their story to tell. But I learned that later on. But the significance to me is that courthouse. In my memory, that courthouse was like an albatross around my neck. I feared it all my life. I feared that courthouse, even conducting business for my mom and dad. I feared that courthouse. Fast forward to 2010, and Whitman became the site of Whitman 10+2. You're not familiar with that? That's where 11 Black females and one male were arrested for alleged voter fraud, and half of those are our cousins. And I said, I'm going to win this battle, and I implemented the first Juneteenth in Brooks County, Georgia. And I told my sister Pat, I'm having a Juneteenth at this courthouse if I'm the only one here. And this was at the height of the persecution of Equipment 10+2. This is where the GBI, endorsed by the governor, Nathan Deal, the state of Georgia, the day before Christmas Eve, or whatever, where you had the GBI, the state troopers, local, you had a whole posse coming to arrest these citizens in their homes for alleged vote fraud, absentee voter fraud. And the whole idea was to intimidate and prevent us from voting. And we go back to this Macedonia community where we found through Cheryl Taylor Oliver, who is another historian. I've never met her personally, but she and Gloria Rayford, who's joining us now, they're the ones who dug up these records of our ancestors signing up to vote the first election that they can vote in after slavery. This is the community that we're talking about. These are the people that are buried in these cemeteries here in Brooks County. These are the people. Now, and recently, Kalinda Brown, who's also started, she's a part of this group. She's a young woman. I'm so happy I found these young people who have this passion that I have. So it's just this week, I literally turned everything over to my sister Bunsell Vance and all these other people because I've got some personal things that I've needed to devote time to. I've been dealing with this 68 years. But anyway, they showed an article, well, Andrew Jackson the first, our great grandfather, this tombstone we're telling you about. There was a write-up on him. Unfortunately, he killed someone over a voting rights issue. And what was it, 1867, 68, I'm not sure. I don't have my records right here in front of me. Now, we just discovered this about 5 weeks ago. And everyone is saying, okay, that's where Fannie gets it from. And it's just amazing how all this history, we have tried for over 100 years to include this history in the museums in Brooks Lounge in Thomas County with no results. We've stepped out on faith. We're preserving this. You're not going to stop us now. We're preserving our history. This is what we're doing. I'm passionate about it, but I'm thankful that the others, and Gloria Rayford and Cheryl Taylor Oliver, Antoine Nelson, my new cousins, they're the ones who gave me the courage and strength to move forward and get us to this point where we can say that the world now knows us, They know we're here. They know the importance of this history to America. And what really hurts me is, like my sister said, we're Christians. We're Christians. My son, they're sleeping over here. My grandsons, they're asleep on the sofa. But they're Muslim. But it to me, I don't understand America. I don't. I get confused. But nevertheless, we're thankful that others understand the importance of this history. And in Huxford's history, Folks Huxford is like the leading historian for the white history in this region, all these counties. So when I was my mom's caregiver in the late 80s, early 90s, when I have a break, I'm off to the library. I want to discover all there is to know about my relatives, about my family, my history. And I'm reading all this history, Huxford's history of Brooks County, Georgia, and there's nothing in there about us. The only thing that Huxford wrote about us, a tribute to those Brooks County, Georgia, will forever hold a debt to those colored Negroes who fought admirably with their enslaved mistresses and carried on valiantly during the darkest days of the Civil War without ever molesting the white women. Now, this is their story. Our story is Andrew Jackson I, Romeo Wilson, and all these other enslaved men, these tombstones that we're preserving, they are the ones that sustain this county, this region. And the story is, why didn't they just burn this whole thing down? Why didn't they all run off, to join the war? So there's a lot of controversy surrounding all of this, and the courthouse that we glory, this courthouse I'm telling you about. My grandfather and those were the ones who kept them from burning that courthouse down.
Mm-hmm.
Our ancestors kept them from burning it down, but they don't want to give us the dignity of preserving their tombstones.
Yes. Can you tell us about your event in June?
Oh yes, South Georgia Juneteenth. Like I said, I've been working on it since 2010. And the reason I called it South Georgia Juneteenth, because when I did mine in Brooks County, I recognized that not many people knew anything about Juneteenth. So it was a situation where we're educating. And it's a lot of work. And if you don't have the community behind you, you don't have support, it can be overwhelming. But I found a friend, Runette Melton, in Tifton. She picked it up. She's carried it for the last 7 years. So we call it South Georgia because the whole idea is to bring all those who were run out of this region, the 1800s, the 1920s, to come back home, come see us. We understand, but we're here. We want to show you what we've done. And they want to come, but they want to see our cemeteries. They want to see our churches. They want to see our landmarks. And I actually upset people when I said they're not really interested in the plantations. And that upset a lot of people. I'm definitely a controversial person. But that upset a lot of people when I'm saying, but my people want to come and see Andrew Jackson's tombstone. They want to see Promise Rim tombstone. They want to see Sidney Wilson's tombstone. This is what they're coming to see. They want to see these churches that date back to the 1800s. They want to see these roads that their ancestors built. This is what they're coming to see there. So that's why I called it the South Georgia Juneteenth. Now, we do have a cousin. His name is Curtis Ram, Rayam. He is an adjunct professor at Bethune-Cookman, a tenor. And Gloria was the one who told me about him. I reached out to him. He agreed to do a benefit for us to raise money for the foundation so that we could preserve these cemeteries. And that is a monumental task when someone says, sure, I'll do it, but you still, there has to be money. Money has to exchange hands. And where I am now, that's Brooks County government, the city of Quitland, Brooks County Board of Education, the Chamber of Commerce. I'm just dealing with Brooks County. I haven't ventured out into all the other counties. Just asking them for anything. We have to have $1 million insurance bond. So I've asked one of these entities, you have an insurance bond. If you want to increase tourism in this region, help us do this. We can stand another holiday, Juneteenth. We can have another holiday. So that's where we are now. But fortunately, I have other voices who are going to advocate for that, and I no longer have to go before these bodies, trying to move this forward. But that's where we are right now. And there will be a South Georgia Juneteenth. I'm reserving the building if it just sits there by itself.
When is the date? What's the date?
June 18th, 2022. But fortunately, I know that it's going to happen because last year, this organization called WALLS, it is a waterworks. These are my friends. They were doing an event, canoeing at what we call Reed Bingham Park in Adel. And they recognized that the kids who were coming that wanted to learn how to do canoeing were Black kids. So they started working with Black kids, teaching them how to canoe. Last year, they partnered with Macedonia Foundation at Reed Bingham, which is in Cook County. And they to give the kids the canoeing lessons, different waterworks. Wow, so we're doing that again this year. It's in Cook County. Tift County is having their Juneteenth with the parade and a festival in the park. And Brooks County, we're still having Brooks County Juneteenth. Like I said, if I reached out also to the Boys and Girls Club, asked them if they would open the swimming pool that day for the Brooks County kids as a part of Brooks County Juneteenth. This was about 2 months ago. I've not heard one word from them. But I said, that's okay because WALLS has agreed to give our kids the canoe lessons in Cook County. So there's no problem with us going to Cook County as a part of Juneteenth. And we will reserve that facility just for peace sake.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Miss Fannie Marie? So if people want to donate or if people want to have relatives that wants to attend, where can they get the information?
Fannie Marie Jackson Gibbs, 593 Brooks Cove Drive, Valdosta, Georgia, 31602, 229-548-9462. We accept contributions through Zelle, or you can send it through the mail, or you can give it to any of the members of Unself Vance, Gloria Rayford, any of them. We're working on this together. It is a community effort, and it's going to take a community. One thing I wanted to say about this Juneteenth, I estimate the facility seats 500 people. And if we charge, I started out at $100 bucks a ticket, that's a lot of money. That would help us do every cemetery in Brooks County, Georgia. So I'm thinking that's too much money. Nobody can pay that. So I dropped it down to say $25 per ticket. I said, even at that would be a yearly fundraiser for the foundation. You have that type of kitty, you can imagine the type of preservation work we could do for all these cemeteries in Brooks County. So that is what it's all about. It's going to take a community effort. The community has to see the vision. And also, I was speaking with someone on the national level that maybe our project could be like a prototype. for this happening all over the world, because the question is, how can you preserve all these cemeteries? How can you do this? You're talking about a monumental task. It's going to cost money, and of course, those on the far right or whatever, they're going to talk about money. So if you've got community members that are working to fund this, then that makes it more agreeable to everyone. To me, it's just a win-win situation.
Okay.
But I'm altruistic, so.
Right. So do you have anything on social media as far as your organization?
Well, yes, I did. It's Fannie Marie Jackson. Fannie Marie Jackson Gives. I did have the Macedonia Foundation webpage, but after I found these young kids, the Brooks County enslaved African Americans, is through Miss Calinda Brown. You can reach out to her, Kellinda. Calinda Brown is truthfully, that is the one moving forward as far as all these projects that we're wanting to do, because I'm branching back into Fannie Marie. I'm an advocate.
Mhm.
Marie, if I can suggest, maybe you can email that information to Tammy, or because I know that your skills now, you wouldn't be able to put it in the chat. But if you can just, the questions that she's asking about how to get in touch with you if people want to do donations, and how to get in touch with to find out information about the organization, if you would just go ahead and email that information to her, Tammy. Is that good for you?
Yeah. So so if you can send me the information, I can post it on my social media. This series is recorded, and so I'm going to post it on Facebook. And if people want to donate, I could put that in that message as well. People want to donate.
Thank you.
I'm definitely going to attend the event on June 18th. I told Miss Fannie Marie that I will definitely be there. I definitely want to support. So I'm coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for
Yeah,
listening. Thank you.
yeah. Yes, I would like to thank Ms. Fannie, Ms. Voncell. Thank you for coming on here and talking about your amazing history and what you're doing to make sure our ancestors rest in peace and dignity, because if no one else is going to do it, we have to take care of our ancestors.
Amen.
Definitely. So this was amazing. And I have another person I'll be interviewing that is on a mission to preserve cemetery. So if you follow me on social media, you can get that information. But thank you all again for attending. And hopefully see you on another series with Grace Matter. And I always end it saying, do you know if your ancestors are resting in peace and dignity? So have a good evening. And hopefully I'll see you again on another Grace Matter series soon. You all take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.